What's good, everyone? Welcome back to My First Kicks. This is episode 169, and this week I welcome Joe, aka Higher Living, I want to say, for this one. I mean, if you know Joe, he goes by HigherLXNG, but he does explain his name on this episode of the podcast. It's such a great conversation with me and Joe. We talk about being host on podcasts that are seemingly trying to bring more storytelling and stories and just natural conversation to sneakers. So it's funny if you haven't noticed or listened to his podcast, Thoughts for the Soul. Please check it out. But it's funny to put him into the guest seat because as a fellow host, it's hard to turn it off. If you've seen me on other podcasts like my appearance on Rob Hayes' Inconsistent podcast or Buy Sell Talk with Leo and Brian, you could tell sometimes I end up being like, oh, let me ask some questions. So it's really good to just be in the conversation with Joe, ask him questions, see where he comes from. Because as a host of a podcast, we don't really get these opportunities. We usually are the platform for people to jump on, to have these conversations, but we don't really see that invite. Like everybody's always trying to get another creator or have a conversation with somebody who made sneakers in this realm. So being asked and also being on a podcast, it's something I like doing. It's something I love to do more of, and I'm sure Joe does too. So I'm very excited for y'all to get into this episode. I'm very excited to jump into this. This is my second time recording this intro. So shout out to me for messing this up. But I'm recording this on a Wednesday, and it's just because I am trying to do more of spreading the word of this podcast in person to as many people as possible. So with that, I have to be outside more. And it leads me down to this path of just like, okay, I have to do all the assets, or sorry, I'm speaking in work terms. I have to do all these creative stuff and the podcast stuff earlier, put it together, but WrestleMania weekend stopped me from doing it on a Sunday. And now we're here, Wednesday. And tomorrow I'll be at Extra Butter spreading the word of My First Kicks. So not only can I do that, but if you are listening and this is maybe your first time listening, please know you have 168 episodes to jump back on. But also tell a friend, because I put a poll out about how people find their podcast, and apparently a lot of people find it through word of mouth, which it makes sense because I didn't hear about a lot of podcasts unless somebody else told me to check it out. So please, 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 please check out. No, please share anything that I post or link. Just send a link. I try my best to get the word out. I'm only one person, but I'm gonna always bring you these hot and fresh episodes every week. And I also have a special guest for 170. So I'm very excited for y'all to listen to my conversation with Joe. So on to where you can find Joe. You can find him at HigherLXNG. Check out his podcast, Thoughts for the Soul. It's on everywhere. I'm going to put a link to his website because he also does photography and he does speeches, conversations at APB and Ama Manir. He does work with the Whitaker group. It's very cool. We talk about his career shift and how he got into it. It's very fun, very, very cool and insightful episode. So please check him out. We'll put an episode link to his podcast in the description of this podcast. And yeah, just make sure you check out the links and stuff because it's always good to see that support, that circle of support. Got to help each other out as much as we can. So shout out to Joe. And you know where to find me. I am Who is Hostile. All social medias. Follow the podcast on My First Kicks Pod on Twitter and Instagrams. If you're listening to this, please put the phone down or pick up the phone and go to YouTube, look up My First Kicks or My First Kicks Podcast. Hit that subscribe or watch the rest of this episode on there and hit the thumbs up button. Usually when I post, it goes up at 9. It premieres at 9 o'clock, and I'm in the chat to see if anybody's in there so I can say what's up. So please do that. And if you're looking for TikToks, My First Kicks on TikTok. But hopefully, or maybe it does get banned. I don't know. It's not. I feel like TikTok has gone down a lot, so I'm just trying to get as many listeners as possible before it goes down. So before it goes down even more, because the sneaker community there, I don't know. It's been either the algorithm is just taking me out, so I don't see a lot of people's stuff, or I don't know. I'm not getting fed the same stuff. So, and also, if you want to be part of the podcast, you can write in and send me your My First Kick story at myfirstkickspod@gmail.com. And on to this week's episode with Joe. Hey, Joe, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, man?
Yo,
How you
man.
today?
Good. You know, I had to hit you up to jump on an episode. You know, I followed you recently. Not recently. Followed you a while ago. And then I think you followed me after or something like that. And I was just like, you know, this would be a great conversation to have you on, because I think we appreciate this style of podcasting, and you know, we have great conversations, and I feel like it's a good opportunity to just have a great conversation with each other.
Yeah, I'm glad to finally get the invite. You know what I'm saying? I don't get invited to, it'd be like when you're in the space, when you're in the space, you don't really get invited to it because you're the one that's inviting.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, hey, this dope. I don't get to sit back and relax, not have to worry about the technical difficulties on my side or your side or whatever. Like, I don't get to sit back like this, so I'm cool.
Yo, I mean, look, since we talk about it, it's interesting because after I started this podcast. I think we started our podcast around the same time, right? Like
I
pandemic.
was a little earlier, like a few months earlier, but it was during the height of the pandemic.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting because as we've been doing this for so long, I also feel like I don't get that many invites as well. You know, like I think I recently bitched about it on some. I bitched about it on Mr. Miller Live when he invited me up one time, because it's interesting because it's I feel like we give the space, right,
Yeah,
and we have these conversations, but one thing that I feel like people don't realize is that we're not the ones putting ourselves out
no,
more, right?
no,
We're given the space to let the people talk,
right.
you know.
So I
It's
love when I had an opportunity. Like, I think I ever been. Oh, this crazy. I don't think I've ever been on a podcast before. I have not. No, I have not. I've been on like IG lives that were very good, but I have never been like a guest on a. I'm make sure I'm not tripping. I've never been a guest on a podcast before, like ever. This is the
well,
first one. So
I'm glad I get
appreciate
to.
you.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a guest a couple times. It's the thing is with being a guest on another podcast is because we're so host oriented. It's hard to turn it off. And you gonna realize it. Watch as we go into this, because you're gonna be
It's
like,
out for me. Nah. Hey, it's up. Hey, I'm gonna try to keep the noises as quiet as possible so you don't have to edit a lot. But
nah, there's no editing.
I'm chilling.
No, you good. You good. You can make as much noise as you
I'm
want. There's no
chilling,
editing.
baby.
This is a rough podcast, all right? When we doing it like this, everybody gets all the bells and whistles in it, man. That's
Hey,
all you getting.
it's turned out for me. I'm sitting back.
But for people who aren't familiar with you, Joe, how about you introduce yourself?
Man, from the streets of H-Town, Houston, Texas, man. Love my city to death. Creative artist, influencer. I'm gonna stop saying I'm not an influencer. Finally give around. I don't know who I influence, but I say I'm an influencer
Hmm.
just for the sake of not having to argue. Artist, photographer, videographer, cinematographer, fellow podcaster, but you know, the root of all of that is love of sneakers. I just love shoes, tennis shoes, sneakers, preps, trainers, run, whatever you want to call them, hooping shoes. Just love shoes. I've just always loved shoes, and to see how, like today we having this conversation, shoes have changed my life in a sense of being able to just have conversations, opportunities, projects, friends,
Hmm.
those associates, job opportunities, work, everything. Like at the root of it, that's me outside of just everything else in life. So yeah, that's basically
The man of many talents. I
it.
love it. I love it. It's being a creative is definitely, I want to say, it's just like you got to be able to do everything. And
Yeah,
and I mean, a lot of people who, and I'm pretty sure you've heard this a lot, or you also preach it about being like in love with the process and like always trying to
yeah,
learn new things, stuff like that that will help you grow and expand on the passion that you love. And after following you for a good bit, what's really dope is I like seeing the like you always give these positive like positive inspirational quotes, and then like
yeah.
you're always
I
bigging up everybody, and I
I
love
forgot
that.
to put motivator in there.
Yeah, that's why I
one
mentioned
day,
it right now.
one day I'll be a motivational speaker, but nah, it's just we live in a society that it's a few C words. Like
Mhm,
I like to compliment, I like to congratulate, I give constructive criticism when where is needed, but or where I feel like I can do it in a gracious way,
mhm,
graceful way. But we just live in a world that is just a lot of complaining, a lot of just straight up criticism,
mhm.
and it's just a lot of like just it's craziness. Like we can just keep it with the C's. It's just
Yeah,
a lot of
we see it up
it's
right
just a
now.
lot of, yeah. It's just a lot of is it, and I'm from the bloody nickel, so I don't know why I'm finna all these C's. You know what I'm saying? But like, nah, it's just a lot of that goes on, and so
Mhm,
like I've been doing that since I had a IG page when I was in college, and then social media just got to me, and I let it go for about a year and a half,
mhm,
and then I brought it back, inspired by To Pimp a Butterfly, but that's a whole nother story. But that's where I brought this platform back. But I was one thing I never let go of was the words, the motivation, because we all need it. And at
mhm,
first, like I was just doing it for me.
mhm,
I was just putting it out for me, and so I was like, well, look, everybody else share this crazy shit out here. My
mhm.
bad. Can we curse on here?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Everybody share this crazy shit, and it's just be like, yo, okay, if that's cool, then let me share stuff that's has some positivity to it, some light
Mhm,
to it. I remember one time somebody had it was this one of my former coworkers many years ago. And you know how you have your work happy hours and stuff. We went
mhm,
out, we had some drinks, and she was like, I see you posting all this stuff, like, whatever, but I just want to know the real you. Like, what make you sad? What make you mad? What's your demons? I was like, that's crazy because basically you saying that me putting this out is not the real me, and it is the
yeah.
real me. Like, like you know what I'm saying? And
I mean,
so,
that's so well. My bad to cut you off, but
nah, you good.
it's funny because the world is so dark, and then when somebody tries to shed light, right, it's always like something's wrong with them because they're trying to be this bright
Yeah,
spear in this dark world, and I come across that a lot too because everybody always talks to me who speaks to me. I'm always forward with my advice. I'm always
right.
like, you just got to be optimistic. Because that's the
Yeah.
way I think. So yeah, there was a moment in my life where I was going down. I felt like a dark path, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know, something just clicked into me where I just said I can't be depressed anymore. I literally told myself that,
Yeah.
you know and it's interesting because I didn't learn the concept of positive mental attitude,
Yeah.
right? PMA. And after I learned about that more recently, but a lot of that, it just form of just being positive in my brain. Like whenever things get rough, and then in order for me to just push past through it, I just tell myself like, yo, you got this. What's the worst going to happen? Or,
Right.
you know, now, especially with the podcast adventure, and I mean, been doing this for 3 years, and we recently tweeted at each other because I was not that I was like frustrated. It was
Nah, it's you
just
frustrated. No, we frustrated. No, it's okay. Hey, yo, it's okay to be. It's frustrating. It's true frustration. It's okay to be frustrated. Like for real.
no, but like I think because it can be seen as like I'm frustrated at doing this, but that's not what I'm
Nah,
frustrated
nah, nah.
at.
That's not what you
Yeah,
frustrated with.
yeah.
Nah.
But it's like I still am like, I'm never gonna stop. I'm gonna keep doing this. This is what I wanted to do. I love talking. I love talking to people. I love having you on right now. I love having people on on each week, and it's just interesting because when and like I'm not a bitter person or anything like that, but when I see other people move forward or faster than me in this
Yeah,
space,
it will fuck
that's
you
where
up.
it's like, yeah, that's where I
It
get
will
frustrated.
it makes you want to just like shit. I've been for the entire month of March. I've been saying I'm done with this shit. And while I'm saying that, I'm still releasing podcasts, but
Hmm.
I've been saying I'm done with this shit. Like it's just yeah, like it's frustrating because you start to wonder what am I not doing? Is
Hmm.
it me? What what is it? Like is it because of the way my podcast setup? Is it the conversations that I'm having? Is it because of the way I look? Is it like what is like? Is it because of what I put out into the space, what I put out
Hmm.
into the world? Like what is it? And it's like you just don't have that answer. Like, am I boring? Like, am
Hmm.
I? Is it just nobody just want to hear about it like that, or nobody want to hear about it from me?
Hmm.
It really does take a mental toll. But I just got to the point to where it's just like I'm having fun. I'm having fun.
Hmm.
I remember when I first started out, I used to want to make it like a part of money for me, like a part of money play for me. I loved it, but I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get sponsored, I'm gonna get advertisements, I'm gonna get collaborations,
Hmm.
partnerships, whatever. And when those things did not roll in, I said, you know what, Joe, like, what are you doing it for? I love it. So it takes time out of me, and it's built a network,
Hmm.
connections, network. So it's other assets that it has created outside of money, and that helps me to keep going with it.
Nah, yeah. A lot of people don't understand, or I think it's more of just, I think you have to get to that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, during the pandemic, a lot of people who started their podcast, it was just
Yeah.
like, and then,
Go to everything, pages,
yeah,
podcasts. Yeah.
exactly. But a lot of that stuff just like fell off, right? Immediately after. And it's interesting when you look at that landscape and how oversaturated it is and how oversaturated it is now. But it's that moment where I literally had the same moment you had where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do 40 once I get to 40 episodes, I'm gonna get these sponsors,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
like,
Hey, yeah, like it's gonna be flowing. I'm gonna
yeah.
quit my job. It's
Uh-huh.
done.
and then since my podcast is super guest based, right? I was having trouble booking people at that point, like, and then the soonest I was just like, I had the moment you had in March, right, just past March. I'm just like, I'm gonna give up. That was me. That was me. Like, I want to say 6 months in or something like that, where I
Yeah,
was
I
just.
gave up. I gave up. I called it a break, but I really was just like, I don't know, like multiple times. That's
Yeah.
why if you look at my episodes, it's gaps
Hmm.
until last year. It's huge gaps because one, I ain't had that much to talk about every
Hmm.
week. I'm not as controversial as others can be, and
Hmm.
two, or I don't have that many flavors and spices to me like that. It's just straight whatever. And then two, like life, I just made the it's a justification, but it could be looked at as an excuse. But like the
Hmm.
justification of like life, like yo, it's a lot of life stuff happening right now. Let me just chill. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
I wouldn't say that's an excuse. Like
yeah,
it could be like I feel like people who would paint it as an excuse are painting you in a different stroke than that's
yeah,
what you know like
yeah,
time. This is especially when it comes to something that we're passionate about. I think time is what we all. I think we all feel like it's running out.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it is, but
but
you
I feel like it's like
quicker
yeah.
than yeah,
Yeah, but I feel like when it's like, yo, I want to do this so bad, I want to do this so bad, I want to like you're like, yo, why is this not
yeah,
moving so fast? Yeah, I feel
yeah,
like it once you're into doing something, especially because we've both been collecting sneakers for super long and something like that, where we're like, I finally figured out what I want to do in this space, and now you're like, oh, but it's not taking off as fast as I
man,
wanted to. You're already slimmed down the timeline, and
man.
you're looking at other people who've been doing this
I'm
longer.
talking
You're like,
about
yo.
it's crazy, and you have to check yourself, check your
Hmm.
heart for jealousy and envy because I don't care what nobody say. Like yo, it can creep up on you. So
Hmm.
you have to check yourself and be like, do I feel this way because I wish it was me, or do I feel this way because genuinely this is not for me?
Hmm.
So, it can play on your mental, but I love it, man. Whether I have one listener or thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of listeners, I love it. Just because it's my platform
Hmm.
and it's my perspective and it's the way I want to shape it and cultivate it. And if it never goes to the point the heights that I wanted to, I'm gonna do it until I get to the point to where I'm satisfied. I'm like, all right, it's time to buy out. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. Yeah. So I appreciate you calling out the words because people when I stop doing it and just post my podcast on it,
Hmm.
people be like, "Hey, yo, like what happened? Like what are the word?" I'm like, it don't fit this week because I ain't got enough content, but I'm doing better with that, bringing that back because it helps me and it helps others, and I'm grateful for that. That was how Higher LXNG came into fruition before the sneakers took over. Like
Hmm.
so, yeah.
Nah, I love it. Like I said, but you're here to answer the question that I ask everybody each week, and that question is, "What's your first kicks? What's that first pair of sneakers you absolutely needed to have?"
So for me, honestly speaking, it was
Hmm.
Presto. It
Okay.
was a Nike Air Presto. It was the black and I think they called it black and silver, but it was gray. It was really gray.
Uh huh.
The band on it was gray. So I remember I was in the fifth grade and I was like, my gym teacher came. I was like, yo, what is this? And so I'm looking at these shoes, no laces. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? We learned to tie our shoes in elementary school or before we went to elementary school. Parents taught you that.
Hmm.
And I'm like, yo, I ain't got to tie my shoes up. Like, what's up? So I just thought my gym teacher was cool. I forget his name. It was a Hispanic dude. And it was a black dude. I remember Mr. Davis now. I cannot remember the other dude. Mr. Lee. I'm lying.
Hmm.
Mr. Lee. It was Mr. Lee and it was Mr. Davis. And he had got a pair over the weekend. One weekend we came back to school. I'm like, yo, what is that? And that was the first pair of shoes I went, what are those? And so I never forget, like, I begged my mom. She was like, nah. At this time I was still seeing my pops. So I would go over there bi-weekly, went over there
Hmm.
and I told him about it, and he ended up getting me that exact pair. And that was the first pair of shoes that just made me go, "Yo, I love these. I love sneakers." Like that
Hmm.
was the first pair, and then it just from those Prestos, it went to Iversons, it went to T Max. I used to have the T Max with the matching shorts, with the matching tee, with the matching with it, socks.
Damn,
I had all that, and
he's
then
killing
like
them.
it went to, and then from there it just expanded. Like, but that was the first pair of shoes that the Nike Air Presto that I was like, yo, I gotta have these shoes, and
Hmm.
so that yeah, that was it.
The all right, so I'm gonna read a little bit about the Air Presto Black Gray. Heralded for its t-shirt-like comfort, the Nike Air Presto takes on a straightforward colorway that's as essential as the wardrobe standby it's often compared to. The lifestyle runner sports a breathable mesh upper in black, accented with a light gray midfoot cage and partially translucent toe bumper. The white foam midsole
Yeah,
embellished with with a white swoosh completes the natural aesthetic.
yeah. That's it. I just was like, I had to tie my shoes, and, and they were comfortable, but I wasn't tripping about comfort at that time.
Yeah.
I had to tie my shoes, and they look cool. And then the thing, this is the thing.
Hmm.
I went to Lyons Elementary in H Town,
Hmm.
and I think they stopped at they cut off at fifth grade, I believe, or maybe it was sixth grade. I think it was fifth grade. They did cut off fifth grade. So I went to when I had those, nobody at my school had those. No other kids at my school had those on. Now people were into other Nikes. They went to Jordans. I wasn't into Jordans at that time, but those Prestos, they like, oh, what you? I'm like, hey man, yo, no, just holler at me. I might be able to help you out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I remember we went to. I think we went to Deerbrook Mall.
Hmm.
Deerbrook Mall it was just one of those popping malls out here back early 2000s, and that's why I ended up getting them from. It was Foot Locker and Deerbrook Mall, and I never forget that pair of shoes. I love those shoes, man. I wore 'em. I tried to wear them with everything. I wore those shoes so much to where like the sock part on. Like I ended up getting a hole in them. I wore them shoes that much. Like
Did
love
you wear
those.
these in the rain too?
I wore them in everything.
Oh my
Everything.
god.
Rain. We didn't get snow out here like that. So
Hmm.
rain, hot, heat, it just whatever. I wore them in whatever. Like, and I shouldn't have, but I did. I got them muddied up, cleaned them off, toothbrush, let them
Hmm.
dry, right back on my feet. So
That's love right there. I've never owned a pair of Prestos, but when that Virgil Presto, I was like, that off white Presto. Mm,
yeah, that was a little different. The material was different
yeah.
on it. Like still very comfortable. I haven't had the pleasure of owning a pair, but from what I've seen and what I've felt, like they are very comfortable. They're still very comfortable. They look very good,
Hmm.
but it's just a different feel to them.
Yeah. I mean, the shoe is inside out because it's like the whole shoe inside out. So it has to
Yeah,
feel different,
right.
The, but that's the only Presto that mine. Oh, actually, remember when they did the lightning pack, or it was like,
But hey, I'm trying to see what you was about to say because that was the one that the lightning pack was like what I remember when because they did the Prestos.
the
They
TNs.
did the tens, and what was the other one? Was it a what was the other Nike they did?
Wasn't it like an
It was
up tempo, or was it
it went up. It was like
the
a
hyper
flight.
flights,
Yes, that's what it
the
was.
hyper flight posit threes or
It was
whatever?
crazy. I remember
Hmm.
when that pack dropped. Like, oh yeah, hey, y'all speaking to me. So yeah,
I'm mad I didn't cop. I should have copped because then
man.
they did the what is that shoe called again? The Kanaya,
Kukina.
yeah, Kokina.
Hey, matter of fact, hold on. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Uh-huh.
That's my favorite shoe to wear when, like, right now today. That's
Uh-huh.
my favorite shoe to wear. Like, if I'm just going to like Sam's Club or something. Like, I would throw on
That's the
some sweat,
everyday.
a hoodie,
Uh-huh.
or a tee, and the Kukina. I'm not probably not saying that right, but the Kukina. But I have the leopard pair. I love that shoe. Like, yeah.
I could never do that shoe because they remind me too much of like there was that moment in high school where all the girls were wearing jelly slippers or whatever.
The Melissas.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know what they call them
Nah,
down there.
they used to wear the Melissa. No, it was Melissa's was the jelly shoes.
Yeah.
They were see through
Mm-hmm.
and they had the M on there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they had the jelly flip flops too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. That's what they look like to me. I couldn't do it.
That's just because they have a little gel
Yeah,
on
they
the
got the gel on the
outside.
outside.
Yeah, but man, hey, you getting up in age? Go try try you some coquitas, and you gonna be like, hey, yo, nah, I'm tripping. Like I promise you, You slip them on, just let it rip. Just you good to go.
That's this is I my slip 'em on shoe right now is the workplace harassment ones, the general purpose shoe, the GPS, Tom
Oh
Sachs.
no! Oh no!
I put those joints
Oh
on.
no! No sir! No, we can not. Oh no! Hey, but I was on them heavy. I was on
hmm
them heavy. I never owned a pair. I wanted the first pair, the white pair, and then the orange pair. That was my two favorite pairs.
hmm
Um, haven't owned a pair. I know they mad comfortable. And they just sleep, but probably won't have none now.
No,
So
definitely not. They gone. If you got
so
them, you got them.
yeah,
Oh, but you lived in Houston, right? Houston,
born and raised.
born and
Yep.
raised your whole life. You
Mhm.
what
I,
was
I I spent like 2.5 years in
hmm
Dallas.
hmm
Yeah.
what was like? What was high school like? When did you get in touch with like the sneaker community around you?
I have to say middle school.
Okay.
Well, sixth grade I went to an academy.
hmm
It was an intermediate school, so it was just fifth and sixth grade, and that's when I started rocking Iversons real heavy. I also had some Tommy Hilfiger Air Force Ones. Nobody
Okay.
was on them,
Okay.
and then it was in the seventh grade. Seventh grade is when I got my first pair of Air Force Ones.
hmm
The seventh grade is when I got those. You remember that City Pack, the patent leather mid Jordan ones, the Chicago's, the
hmm
UNC's, and the black and gold ones.
hmm
I ended up getting the Chicago joints, and that's when it was just like, okay, it's that's when people was like, oh no, like, yo, Joe be having that shit, and in sixth grade. It was like Iversons. It was one pair of Iversons I had. It was a black pair. I can't remember which number it was, but I remember it had the American flag. He had it was the American flag on the insole,
hmm
and his face was on the other one. But then it was the seventh grade when it was like, nah, I have arrived. I got my first pair of Jordans because I hadn't had a pair of Jordans before then. I got my first pair of Jordans in the seventh grade for Christmas, the Chicago patent leather mid joints.
hmm
And after that, it was like, that's it. Like, you can't tell me. Like, I'm not like S. Dot Carter's. I remember S. Dot Carter's came out, and it was after the seventh grade that it was just like, yo, I'm never. This is. So I would rather have shoes over clothes,
hmm
and that's really the schools I went to. I wore a uniform,
hmm
so I didn't have to make a hard decision because I'm wearing my khaki Dickies and a polo shirt.
hmm
Other than that's the same thing. Get them sent to the cleaners. I could wear them, whatever. Just let me have my shoes. So it was middle school, and after middle school, I was a problem out here.
Did you get like a job like where were you, or were you just like good
I
student and
just didn't
then
ask for nothing. I was made honor roll.
hmm
So whenever it was time for to get that honor roll gift, I want some shoes.
that's what I'm talking about.
Whenever it's time to ask for Chris, I had brothers. I have three little brothers, so
hmm
they were asking for the video games. Okay, y'all take care of the games. I can still play them because y'all my brothers.
hmm
And so y'all get the games, I'm gonna get the shoes. And so I didn't have to ask for both. It
Yeah,
was
you
like
got
I get the
everything.
shoes, y'all got the games. I'm gonna come bully y'all. Boom, let me play whatever real quick, and that was it. Like it was just always either I wanted money or I
hmm
wanted sneakers. That's just what it was. If it was my birthday, Christmas, whatever, honor roll gift is either money or tennis shoes. That's all
hmm
I wanted.
I mean, you living the life right there because I was only child right here, so it's one or the other, and I had to pick video games, man.
Oh man. See, only child, you gotta do you gotta do that. I was like, hey yo, put that on y'all Christmas list. Put that game on y'all Christmas list. I'm gonna get the memory card, and then I'm gonna get the shoes. So y'all get the games, I get the memory card and my shoes, and that's how we gonna do it. And that's just how it went. Like it just worked very well, and I'm happy for that partnership that me and my brothers had. Yes. Yeah, I just sneakers was just my thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
It was music and sneakers. Music was, I always say music helped raise me, and
Mm-hmm.
then like sneakers was just that great. I mean, people would look at frown upon it, but sneakers was like that great coping mechanism. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, growing up in the hood, growing up in the ghetto, growing up in poverty, I had my music, I had my sneakers, and it helped me to not even realize, like, till I got older, like, yo, no, you was dirt poor, like
Mm-hmm.
you was poor. Um, Parents, grandparents barely knew, if they was gonna have the lights on or whatever, but
Yeah.
they did what they could, and so it was just like, yo, sneakers just really was like coping mechanism for me. That one of those music and sneakers were just coping mechanisms and helped
Mm-hmm.
me get through when stuff was just tough. So, yeah.
I mean, I feel like, see, not to make this sound weird or like down, but like when I got older and I thought about the same things of like, as we're going through the stuff when we're younger, we look for respite in these items
Yeah.
to like disappear for a second. Like I'll
Yeah.
disappear in the music, disappear in the sneakers, disappear in the video
Right.
games, right? Especially when some like me, I wasn't great at school, so at least I could be good at shooting people in PS2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Nah. Yeah. Yeah. No. No.
yeah,
I got you. Yeah. Nah. I got you. Like you could
yeah.
be good at running a high score up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like you had something to hold on to. That's basically what you said. Like you had something to hold on to, and that's what a lot of us had to do. We had to have different things to hold on to, and that was
Mm-hmm.
just. And then some of them we just carried with us into adulthood. You know.
Yeah, and onto this where we're like, I feel like now we got our own money, we playing catch up, and it just continues.
It'll catch up. You never catch it. Like you
Yeah.
just you never catch it. You just
um. So like in high school, right? Were your goals always to like work in sneakers, or what was your first like, or especially like what was your
nah,
first job? You know.
nah. So from elementary school, shoot, from elementary school all the way up until 2019,
Mm-hmm.
my goal was not to work in sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
My goal was not really. I've been an animal lover since I was a baby boy.
Mm-hmm.
So I love nature. I love animals, and I just always had this connection with animals when I go outside, play, whatever. And so, like, I never forget my first dog name. I see this is what happens when you get on the podcast. You know what I'm saying? You start telling all this stuff. But I had a
This is
dog
what we
named
here
Choo.
for.
I had a dog named Choo Choo. He was a
Choo choo.
Chihuahua.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm older and I was in vet med, I realized that Choo Choo had parvo. He died from parvo.
What's
Uh,
parvo?
Parvovirus, it attacks your nervous system, and once
Mm.
a dog gets that, distemper parvo actually, and once a dog gets that, um, like they basically you hemorrhaging like they can't keep fluids down, they can't keep food down,
Oh.
to have bloody like it's just
Mm-hmm.
your body is just hemorrhaging all of this stuff, right? And so like most of the time, if you catch it early, the dog can live. But again, growing up in the hood, my grandparents didn't know nothing about that. So we went to the veterinarian. I'll never forget, had a truck ride. I was in the middle of my grandmother and my grandfather. We took him to the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember when we left, he didn't come back home with us.
Mm.
So he passed away. And so like I've always loved animals. So like in high school, I was in health science. My school was a high school for careers, Barbara
Mm-hmm.
Jordan High School. And I remember I was in health science, and then when I went to college, I went to Prairie View University, Prairie View A&M University. I majored in agriculture with the concentration in animal science because I
Mm-hmm.
was on track to be a veterinarian. I wanted to be a vet, and so I was in vet med up until last year.
Mm-hmm.
I was in vet med up until like full time up until last year. Um, and so like sneakers didn't really start to come into play for me until I started taking pictures of them with my professional camera.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to take the pictures with my phone and everything, but when I started shooting, when the pandemic happened, 2019, I started shooting events.
Mm-hmm.
I was heavy in sneaker politics in Dallas. They had just opened up. I was doing stuff at I'm on my year social
Mm-hmm.
status. I just started doing events, just
Did
freelance.
they? I was gonna
Not
ask, like, did they hit you up or
no.
like?
I'm just there. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm just there like clockwork, support events, and just taking pictures on by my own premonition. Nobody like no payments, no nothing, no nothing like that. No
Mm-hmm.
hiring. Just that was just me. That's what I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that. And so like that when I doing that, I built so many connections in the network. And so I was like, you know what? Like I want to go into this like I want to go into a field that I just do nothing but create for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Still not in sneakers like full time, but I get closer every year. At some capacity,
Mm-hmm.
because I do get paid for events now, and I do get paid for certain projects and collaborations now, but still is not full time yet. But it's getting closer.
Yeah.
It's getting close. I can feel it getting closer. But it was during that time that transition from vet med to like what I want to do with my life. I don't want to be a doctor anymore. What I want to do, I had to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And when I made that decision, my world turned upside down, but it was for the better. And so that's how I got to where I am today in the sneaker space
I'm.
when I made that decision.
Yeah, I'm very curious of like. So, are you just dropping? Like, you're just doing a full pivot and not finishing, or did you finish your
What
vet
for
schooling?
Batman? Oh no,
Yeah.
I just dropped it. Mm-mm.
Okay.
I had like probably like 4 more prerequisites to go to actual vet school. So I got my bachelor's degree in animal science,
Mm-hmm.
and I was working full time in vet med. I was a veterinary nurse, veterinary tech, uh, and um, and then I dropped down. This is when I knew I was going to get out of vet med
Mm-hmm.
because my last like year and a half, I had dropped down to like being a basically a receptionist. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't hands on anymore because I was just like, I don't want to be in this anymore. Like,
Yeah.
and so dropped down to that, and then I was like, you know what, like I got to get out of this soon. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I did not finish. I look back on it, and it was one of the toughest decisions in my life.
Yeah.
But I look back on it, and it was for me, it was one of the best decisions I made in my life because I wasn't gonna be able to do both.
Yeah.
You can't serve two masters, and the amount of time I would have had to dedicate to studying and going to school, and the amount of money I would have had to pour into that, it was no way I was going to be able to. And I was just like, you got to make a decision. It was one day I was just like, you got to decide, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, yo, mom's not gonna understand it. My ex at the time not gonna understand it. My grandmother probably not gonna understand it. My brother's not gonna understand it. I just got to do it, and I did it. And this is, and it was terrifying at the time
It
when the
gotta
decision
be.
hit me.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, it was like, oh, I made the right decision.
Mm-hmm. What was the moment where you were like, yo, like, you know when you have that moment of like it's all washing over you of like, yo, this is the right thing. What was that moment that hit you?
It was just like I was going through a lot of different stuff in life. We had the pandemic going on.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of people during the pandemic had breakups, divorces, everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you only you can spend you had to spend time with your person at that time.
Yeah.
And so it was just surveying my life and like, yo, and it was just one night I started and like, man, I don't want they're probably not gonna listen, so I ain't tripping. But it was just like certain people in my life at that time.
Mm-hmm.
love them dearly, still have love for them today, that were not listening to me.
Mhm.
They did not see me for who I was and who I was becoming. It was just looking at me for who I, and I play a part in that because I said I wanted to be a veterinarian. So all you know is me being a veterinarian. You don't know me being a photographer or a writer or a podcaster or whatever. You don't know me for those things. You know me
Right.
for you gonna go be a veterinarian, make six figures, graduate, make six figures. And so, but they wasn't seeing the artistic and creative sides of me, and those were the sides that were always there. But it was like, can you make money from this? Can you make a livelihood from this? And so it was when I made that decision, like I said, like it wasn't the main factor in losing a lot of important people in my life at that time,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a pillar of it.
Mm.
And so when I made that decision, it just came to me one night. It just came to me one night, and I was just like, "Yo, I'm going after this. Like, I'm going after this." And after I made that decision, I started losing people.
Yeah.
I started losing people, um, and it hurt, and it did not feel good because, like, people look at shoes as trivial things,
Mm-hmm.
as shoes, nigga. Like what? Go get a real job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go do something better with your life. You got this degree in this, and it was when I made that But you know what? Okay, let me say this.
Okay.
What made that decision a very important decision in my life
Mm-hmm.
is because up until that point, I was the most indecisive person you could meet in your life. I was just going. I would be on this constant loop
Mm-hmm.
of should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do that? Whatever. When I made that decision, decision making started to become very easy, like easier for me.
Yeah.
And after I made that decision, I was like, all right, bet. Like I'm gonna be all right. It hurt right now, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna be all right. And I had to, being my ex, like that was we dissipated, that was done.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to, a lot of people don't know this, like I had to move back home. I had to move with my mom's. I was back in my old bedroom,
Damn.
like from a big ass house
Uh-huh.
to my damn childhood bedroom, and like was putting out like still putting out like fire ass content. And that's when
Mm-hmm.
I had to realize like, yo, you got to be comfortable in your decision.
Yeah.
Life circumstances not comfortable right now, but you got to be comfortable in your decision. And
Did you feel like my bad to cut you off because I know you're about to say something way more impactful than what I'm about to
mm-mm,
ask you right now. But did
go
you
ahead.
feel did you feel like it was like a life reset? You were like because I feel like that going back to where you basically grew up, right? Was it like, yo, this is a second chance, like I think I'm or
It was a total life reset, and
yeah.
it's hard to. You got to keep yourself sane and not beat yourself up because you
Mm-hmm.
could say, "Yo, I am, I'm back to ground zero."
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it the right way, you'll be like, "I'm back at ground zero," which means I can reset and rebuild this foundation to
Mm-hmm.
where it won't be a fraud, to where it won't be weak, to where it won't be soft. You could reset the foundation to what it needs to
Mm-hmm.
be able to sustain and last and endure life.
I mean, shoot. You make me want to quit my job tomorrow.
Hey, nah, I'm just saying, like it just
My boss listens to my podcast. No, I'm not gonna quit my job
nah, you
tomorrow.
not gonna he not quitting his job. He was just saying that for the for the show, but nah, like it just makes you, what I'm saying, just when you do it,
Hmm.
it's just saying I have the power is in the doing. It don't feel good all the
Mm.
time,
Right.
but some of your power lives within you just doing it, just doing
Mhm.
whatever it is you need to do. And so me doing that, going into the unknown, scary, uncomfortable, I'm hurt, I'm
Mhm.
grieving relationships, but at the same time, on the other side of it, it's been so much more rewarding
Mhm.
than, you know, what came before it. So
That's shoot, man. It it's hard to follow up that because it one thing that I think is super common, especially I bring it up, and I don't know if I brought it up on this podcast, but I think something that always holds us back is the get it out the mud mentality,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and we'll stick to something that we don't like doing
No, yeah.
until we feel like we got out the mud, and
Cause
it's
you
like,
just feel like you gotta do it. You
yeah,
know you gotta do it. Like,
hmm,
and that's not always true.
right,
Because even if you pivot, if you started in the mud, you still got to get out the mud.
exactly,
Sometimes the same what you was using to get out the mud wasn't gonna get you out the mud.
hmm,
So when you pivot, you find another resource or another tool to actually get out the mud. That's just what it is.
yeah, and so like, especially I don't know how old your mother is, but my mom's pretty old, so she very pushes the whole like you got to make sure you always have a background, like like you got to
Yeah,
have
yeah,
that
yeah,
fallback
yeah,
plan and that
yeah,
whole and learning the difference of like, oh, you gotta if you don't step in with 2 feet,
yeah.
then you don't know how far this actually can go. It can either
Right.
fail, and you can learn that right now,
Yep.
or you can prolong how long it'll take to
Yeah,
fail.
yeah.
And yeah, that's you stepping out. You stepping out the comfort zone. You
Hey,
were
I
like,
jumped out.
yeah, you out the window sailing. You're
I
like, yeah.
jumped. Okay, because I was already at a point where life was unraveling for me.
Mhm.
So it was like, let's just rip it off. Let's
Yeah.
just the band-aid is already just rip it off and just see what's out there. And so that's what I did. And so like my mom is not she is like halfway in between what your mom is like
Hmm.
1 foot in, 1 foot out of you gotta have that backup plan. But because she started to see what it was I was building and doing,
Hmm.
my mom was like, "Oh, okay, bet." Like that. This in this time in this day and age, this is the most my mom has told me she's proud of me. You know,
Wow.
because she was not, she was. We grew up together, me and my mom's.
Hmm.
So it's like we were striving together. We were trying to surviving together.
Hmm.
And so like she wasn't trying to hear like go be the president, go be a police officer, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, go be what? I don't want to hear about them tennis shoes. You only got one pair of feet. Get out of my like you know what I'm saying? So but when she started to see like and the people she would meet was like,
Hmm.
oh nah, Joe, like Joe, da da da. And so they was like she was like, oh, well, how can I help you, son? You know what I'm saying? Like, how
Yeah.
can I help you with a photo shoot? Can I help you do this, whatever? And so, and she's come to some of the events I've hosted or moderated, like,
Hmm.
and that means the world to me. And so, like, she, you know, it's tough. Now, my granny, she still don't know what a podcast is. The best thing I can tell her is like, Granny, just think about it. If you listen to a fireside chat back in the day, if you just
Hmm.
listen to a conversation on radio, she's like, oh, okay. And what they play it on? I say, yeah, we're gonna talk about that later, but just think about it like that.
That's me
The
with my
radio.
mom, bro. That's me. I have to be like literally just before we got recording, I should be like, yeah, I'm just gonna be busy. Like, gonna be busy. Don't try to come pull up on me. I'm
Yeah.
just busy. Like, but it's I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm part of like first generation immigrant type of situation,
Mhm.
and living in the city,
It's tougher
and
for y'all. I'm sorry. It's just, I mean, it's tough for me, but it's yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, it's interesting because I'm half Brazilian, so like I go to Brazil, I witness the black suppression that you get over there versus over here, and it's like it's so totally different in terms of like my struggle and the struggles of that's my
Yeah,
ancestors' struggles, stuff
yeah.
like that. But the the way to like I don't know how we move and continue to push forward has always been this big thing for me, right? You know, and a lot of your content is that and conversations, but like, how did you figure out that that is what you want to talk about versus being like, this is the new sneaker this week? You know what I mean?
Man, so okay, I'm gonna try to keep this short. Okay.
Nah, keep it as long as you
So
want.
it was so my podcast before it became Thoughts for the Soul was
Mhm,
the LXNG podcast. And so higher LXNG stands for multiple things.
mhm,
People when people say higher learning, they're correct. But if they said like higher living, they would be correct. So how I created was higher LXNG is higher living, higher learning, higher laughing, and higher living, higher learning, higher laughing, and it was one more L word. I can't remember. But I always say that X is the placeholder. So
mhm,
whatever the word is, that's what it is, right? And so I had the LXNG podcast was just supposed to talk about life. And I
yeah.
was just supposed to be talking to creatives, artists, entrepreneurs about their journey.
Mhm,
Thoughts for the Soul was a was a YouTube channel that me and my boy named Jesse. He from out here. He from Denver Harbor, which is like pretty much the Hispanic version of Fifth Ward out
mhm,
here. So I grew up in Fifth Ward. Jesse grew up in Denver Harbor, and we became boys in high school. But really, after high school, we became like really good friends
yeah.
because he loves sneakers. Like if I did a documentary, I would have to have him in it because he loves sneakers. Like Jesse, oh my goodness, his collection is stupid.
Yeah.
So me and Jesse we created the Thoughts for the Soul YouTube channel, and we just thought we were gonna get on there, blow up,
Mhm,
and retire, and get this YouTube money and be done. Man, Jesse worked at a plant. I was in vet med working
mhm,
12-hour shifts. Jesse working 12-hour shifts at the plant, and so he was like, "Nah," like so we had to just let it go because the time and like when we off, we need to be sleep
yeah.
or running errands or
Mhm,
whatever. And so we ended up like letting that fold, and then like a few years later, that was in like 2015, 2016.
mhm,
I think in 2018 or 2019, I brought it back on YouTube. I was gonna do sneaker reviews, and I was like, "Nah, it's so many people on here to do this shit way better than me." So I had the LXNG podcast, and I had Thoughts for the Soul on YouTube, and then I was just like, you know what, dog? Let me. I'm gonna just merge them. Fuck it. Who gonna tell me? You know, if an episode gonna be about sneakers, cool. If an episode gonna be about life, cool. If it's
mhm,
about both, cool. And so that's why I just named it Thoughts for the Soul. Just to play on SOUL and just talk about life, but sneakers. And it's probably like people that I met through sneakers, but we might not have a conversation about kicks. It might be about life, but
mhm,
we met through kicks, or we met through life, but we having a conversation about kicks. So that's how it came to be. Like I just like, nah, let me just mesh them together, and that was it.
mhm. That I mean, it's a perfect mash. You know, like I think that we only get 2 feet, right? But nobody can tell us what shoes we walk in. You know what I mean?
Right,
You know,
right.
that's I look. If anybody's listening, tweet at me that that was a bar because I feel I wanted to say that that was a bar, but I need to give validation
Nah,
that that was a bar.
no, hey, nah, you need to quote that, and you need to put that in your bio. And then people like, what is it? And you know what I'm saying? Like, and it was birthed here. Let it
Ep-
ride.
Episode
We
one
need
sixty nine.
need a T-shirt that said on the T-shirt and everything. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause like like for real, like nobody can tell you what shoes that you're wearing. Nobody could tell you today what hat you're putting on today. Nobody could tell you what your walk has been.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I have conversations to try to get people to talk about their walks because people think that a lot of the time we think that stuff is linear.
Yeah.
And most of life is not linear.
Mm-mm.
Like you go through a lot of the same things, but it's in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I had the conversations I had, because again, it's a lot of complaining, critiquing, craziness. And I try to have a conversation that is complimentary, congratulatory, and just, chill, like cool. Like I'm not saying that there is not stuff that we don't need to talk about or say that it's not this or not that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that, but it's so many people that do
Right. Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
that's covered. What about the other side? That part, hey, is you can look open any app and it's covered, hands over fist. That's not what I'm here for, and I know that's a reason why it's been slow.
Mm-hmm.
I know that,
Wait,
and
what do you mean about that?
like the growth, the traction has
Mm-hmm.
been slow, is because I'm not salacious. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not out here just saying certain things to get a reaction.
Right.
I'm not out here promoting this and promoting that. I know people ask me, like I told you that story about that chick that I used to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Like people think like I'm just non-confrontational or not. But no, I'm none. I guess I would say I'm non-controversial,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm okay with confrontation. But
Right.
at the same time, it's just like it's so many people that do that in our space. I ain't gotta do it. Let me be on this side of it. I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? And if I be ducked off and nobody see me, that is what it is.
But I guess because I think this is definitely a conversation that we probably would have off mic, but let's just have it on mic. What is it? What is it about our content that you feel people don't want to listen to it? Because I know, we touch on, and I feel you the same way of just, we're not controversial. I'm not going to be on here being like, yo, these is whack,
Like
yeah,
that's not me. Like I could
yeah,
feel that, but I don't
yeah,
have to. I don't have to broadcast that.
yeah.
And I think it's just like not being spicy enough. Like I mean, part of my family is Creole Cajun,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got family from that's just Southern, and then so like I know about flavors, bold flavors, and spices and herbs and all that. I cook with all that. I get
Uh-huh.
it, but it's like they're saying, chew the meat, spit out the bone. It's like I know for me, my content can be meat, but it's like the
Mm-hmm.
seasoning of controversy, or the seasoning of a hot take, or the
Mm-hmm.
seasoning of whatever is not there. And that's just not me. Like I can have these conversations with you on the phone. I can have a conversation with people on the phone about it, but it's not, I don't like to run to social media and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it like this. If I do want to say I dislike something, there is a tasteful way to say it.
Yeah.
Tasteful way is not enough seasoning on that.
Yeah. I
Nah, you
mean,
need to put
because
some more.
yeah, because I mean, look, I'll post and be like, "This is not for me," and then as soon as I know
Right,
that's not, like it's
right.
not gonna move nothing. But if I
It's
go,
not
yeah,
going.
it's not gonna move nothing. It's the soonest I say, somebody tweets out being like, "I can't believe they did this and they're doing this only for black people," like immediately they're gonna start.
It's crazy. But if you say it's not for me, hey, it's not for me, but I could appreciate it. Oh, okay, whatever. Next tweet.
Yeah. I just find it because I mean, I don't know if you were on the forums back in the day, but I always felt like when we collected sneakers and we were on the forums, it was a lot of more of just conversations. I can be
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
yeah.
I don't like these," and then you pull up in the next thread or the whatever, and you go, "Yo, I love these," and I'm
I
gonna tell you
love
why.
these.
I'm gonna tell you why. Yo, my
Yeah,
mom,
I
blah
was
blah
about to
blah,
say.
and then
Right, that's what I'm about to
you
say.
know,
Oh, you say you don't like them? Like, all right, bet. I mean, I love them, but why don't you like them? What would you change? It would be a genuine, not
hmm
a. I don't like these. Oh, well, that's because you lame, you old dusty, you ain't got no style. Like, you know what I'm saying? It just started
yeah.
going like, damn. What up? I just, you know what I'm saying? it gets wild, man. And so
Yeah.
like that's just not me. Like and when I say that's just not me, that's just not me in real life. Like
Yeah. Same.
if I don't like something, I don't give life to it.
Yeah.
I don't give life to it unless I personally it's something personal.
Hmm.
If I see a shoe, oh, okay, keep scrolling.
Right.
I ain't that, and so it made me start feeling like, well, damn, if it's is it something that's is that something that's neurodivergent about me? Cause they're like, it's in to do it. So like, why don't I do it? Like, it's something. The bread ain't baked all the way. It ain't.
Nah, I don't think
You know
that's
what
it
I'm
at
saying?
all. I don't think that's
Nah.
it at all. I think it's more of the opposite, to be honest. I think it's too many people thinking they are neurodivergent, and they're like, I don't care about what anybody else think. I'm gonna just put this
I'm
out
just
here,
put it out there.
Yeah.
Nah, that ain't me, man.
I want all the smoke. I don't like, but it's not like it's the opposite of being like I want all the smoke. It's like this is the smoke.
This
Here
is
you
the,
go.
this is the
Yeah,
smoke. Yeah, this is the smoke. Yeah, no, this
yeah,
is the smoke. Yeah, like
yeah.
so that's just and it pains me, and that's another reason why I keep going is because like yo, maybe one I keep going just to see if one day
Hmm.
the way that I communicate or express myself does catch fire. Like, and I'll be like, I did it my way. Like I did it my way. Either way, I'm gonna say I did it my way.
Hmm.
That's just what it is. Like I'm not falling susceptible to that. I did it my way.
No, that's same here. I think that once I first started this, it was. I mean, I put it. It's still in the bio of the podcast of just. I just wanted to bring conversations and storytelling back to sneakers because that's what I may bitch about it or may not, but you know, right now we're in this world where the sneaker companies are telling us the stories,
Yeah,
and that's all good and everything in
yeah.
terms of that, but I think it also takes away the room of everybody else's personal story with that sneaker,
I mean,
and
but even with
yeah.
that, we still could tell our story.
Hmm.
You know,
But
and
I
I
think,
don't know
but I
why
think it
brands
like
push it though.
overshadows it because they're like, oh yeah, now this is what it means instead of it being like, oh, this is that moment where my mom took me to go see Travis Scott. Like that was just
Yeah.
that was a bad example, but
Nah, but
because
I don't look at it like that.
yeah.
I don't look at it like that. You know why? Because some stories fall deaf to me.
Hmm.
Some stories just fall upon deaf ears.
Hmm.
But I still like the shoe.
Yeah.
So brands like Nike,
Hmm.
Jumpman, they have gotten to a point to where they are. I mean, all the major brands really, except for I mean, no, all of them.
No, all of them for sure.
Because it used to just be like they'll release a shoe, it wouldn't have no name
Yeah,
attached to it.
and then
Now
we
you
would
got
then the
names,
forums would name them, and then
right?
that's how
And
we got
so
the names.
now
Yeah.
we got names for these shoes now, and so I don't look I don't if the story resonates, it resonates. If
Hmm.
it doesn't resonate, I'm just like, well, shit, this what I'm gonna call them. This
Yeah.
this why they resonate with me. You know what I'm saying? Taking me
Yeah.
back to this, and that. When I was skipping school and I shouldn't have been, or whatever. Like, oh, I remember
Hmm.
when I did that, or whatever. That's how I look at it. When it comes to because it's still a canvas to tell your story.
Hmm.
Regardless of the story that's being told in each sneaker.
But I think, I agree with that. I just think people take that like they just take it as that's the story I should be telling instead of being like I can add my own story to this.
I hate that for I
Yeah.
hate that I hate that for people because like if it resonates with me, I stick with the story,
Hmm.
because it's a part of my story. But if the story doesn't, for instance, for instance, uh, when Concepts released the Air Max One Pack, the heavy and all of that, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
I wasn't at no Woodstock. I
yeah.
ain't know that.
Were you at the Freaknik though?
But that wasn't fun. They didn't call them the Freaknik. They called them the Woodstock with the psychedelics and the mushrooms and the,
Uh-huh.
you know what I'm saying, the rock
Yeah.
music and the hippie music. Like so, That didn't resonate to me, but the part of it that did resonate with me, okay, we're talking about festivals, we're talking about concerts, we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about these shoes got denim on them, 90s denim, So that's where it came for with me. Like I remember bandanas, like
Mm-hmm.
you gang banging, all right, bandanas, or I seen my aunts and them wear bandanas like for their hair. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like it being a part of your fashion and style. So like I took that away from that shoe. The other part is like take the meat, leave the bone. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's some of these stories be like that with me. But like you said, like there are a lot of people that just stick with the story,
Right.
and I hate that because it's like, yo, if I love a shoe, as long as it ain't no, as long as it ain't like these the Hitler 3000s, I'm feeling like I'm gonna take the shoe. If it's not, if you
Some
got
Hugo
enough,
Boss joints.
I can't. Look, there's no way I can spin that. But if you call them the Hitler 3000s or the Saddam Hussein's, hey, you you got it, dog. Hey, they look good, but I'm gonna let y'all chill over there with them, man.
Oh man, listen, Joe. At the end of the podcast, I always ask another question, and this one deals with a little bit of visualization. So I want you to think back to when you were younger and you were just about to open that box with the Prestos in it, but now you're you.
Uh-huh.
Travel back in time behind yourself. What would you tell your younger self before they open that box?
Yo, you about to open this box, and your life about to change, forever, in a good way. You're not gonna see it today. You're not gonna see it tomorrow. You're not gonna see it in the next 10 years. But from now on, when you open this box, after you open this box of sneakers, just know that you have a precious gift in your hand, and moving forward, you're gonna be able to meet some amazing, incredible people because of your love and passion for sneakers. You're gonna be on a podcast episode that you never knew. You didn't even know what a podcast was, but you gonna learn what a podcast is in the future. You're gonna be on a podcast episode. You're gonna have the ability to make a livelihood. You're gonna have the ability to express yourself like an expression of art through these kicks. And you're gonna be able to meet some very important people, form some very important relationships in your life because of your love and affinity for this, what you're about to see when you open this box.
Man, beautifully said. I thought you would at least be like, and choo choo. Look up Parvo real quick.
Ah man, rest in peace, Choo Choo, man.
Rest in
God,
peace,
nah,
choo
rest in
choo.
peace, Choo Choo, man.
Joe, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. And you know what we say every week to everybody out there: wear your kicks. Peace.